What's going on, everyone? So we got some very interesting Giannis Antetokounmpo news. Giannis Antetokounmpo, a lot of talks this offseason about him potentially looking to request a trade. And you had several teams that were kind of in the mix of it, in the thick of it. But we got recent reports that the New York Knicks are his kind of one destination that he would go to if he leaves Milwaukee. Supposedly the New York Knicks as well as the Milwaukee Bucks held conversations, but Milwaukee just felt like they weren't getting the return that they wanted for a Giannis Antetokounmpo. Now, further reports came out from Shams and several others that the Milwaukee Bucks still aren't out of the woods yet in regards to Giannis potentially requesting a trade. And if he does request a trade, it could be to the New York Knicks, which would be very interesting, to pair like a Jalen Brunson with a Giannis Antetokounmpo. There are some kind of questions, just Dame and Giannis, right? That didn't work very well. Could a Jalen Brunson and a Giannis work better, like to the level of title contention? Possibly, right? Like, you look at Jalen Brunson at this stage of his career compared to Dame at the stage in which he was at. Also, to be fair, Giannis and Dame didn't get a ton of games together, right? Damian Lillard was dealing with injuries. Giannis had a couple injuries over that time. So they didn't get to have the sample size of games that they had hoped to really kind of build that chemistry. But Giannis Antetokounmpo on the New York Knicks, it makes a lot of sense. If he was going to go to a big market, right? Like if he wanted to go from a small market to like a bigger market, the Knicks, the Lakers, like those two teams are basically the biggest markets that you could ask for. And so he could look at it, hey, I stay in the East, right? I get to go to a team in the Knicks who haven't won in 50 years, right? So if I go and I win, what that would do for my legacy and my history, right? Like, and I'd have that other kind of co-star in a Jalen Brunson. Me and Jalen Brunson could do wonders. And, they would be, at least on paper, a title. Those two guys, especially in the Eastern Conference, probably going to a finals or two, right? At least. It's just you got to put the complementary pieces around it. It's just the question is like, what would you have to give up if you're the Knicks to satisfy what the Milwaukee Bucks would want, right? I would imagine you're starting with like a Karl Anthony Towns, maybe a Mikal Bridges type thing, type package. The other thing too that kind of would be in the Knicks' favor would be the Milwaukee Bucks can't bottom out. Right? Like they don't really have control of their draft picks for the foreseeable future. And, they have Damian Lillard who have to pay for the next several seasons. So getting something like a Mikal Bridges and a Karl Anthony Towns package, right? You'd probably get more than that. But, saying those are kind of the centerpieces does make some sense for Milwaukee because it's like, okay, now we at least got two guys that can kind of be the foundation. We add to our other guys, make some retoolings and whatnot in the offseason type thing to where now we can maybe shift to being a quality team. Maybe we're not a title contender, but at least, maybe we could be a play-in team or a playoff team or something like that. Have Karl Anthony Towns and Miles Turner in your backcourt with like a Mikal Bridges, right? Like, Gary Trent Jr., and then however else they approach it, right? Like that could be something that bodes well for the Milwaukee Bucks team, right? Now they start to really kind of piece together that roster and really start to shape and carve out at least, like I said, a competitive team, maybe even a half decent team, maybe a team that can get to the second round of the playoffs or something along those lines. But as far as the New York Knicks side of things go, right, again, it's just getting to the point to where, Milwaukee satisfies that deal. Next offseason, Giannis would have a lot more control if he wanted to push his way out, right? Because he'd be going into that contract year. He could say, I'm not going to sign an extension. I only want to go to the Knicks. So Giannis Antetokounmpo could basically force his way to the Knicks. We've seen players do that on several occasions, like Anthony Davis forcing his way to Los Angeles Lakers back in 2019, like things like that. You could see maybe Giannis Antetokounmpo going like, hey, I want to be traded. I want out, especially if they fall short this year, right? I'm not going to sign a new extension. So trade me, get something for me while you can. But the only team I want to go to is the New York Knicks, right? And again, maybe the Knicks go and pull off a deal. Maybe it's a 3-team trade. Maybe a team would be willing to give up assets or something to get a Mikal Bridges or an OG or something, and maybe the Knicks could keep Mikal Bridges because you still want to kind of round out a team, right? So You figure Giannis play the 4 or the 5 for you type thing, probably, especially in the later years. Would he be comfortable kind of switching into the 5 spot? Because, Mitchell, like Karl Anthony Towns makes a ton of sense alongside Giannis, right? Because you could put Cat at the 5 and then have Giannis at the point, or sorry, at the 4 with, Brunson at the point and then a Josh Hart or something like that at the 2. You probably keep one of Mikal Bridges and OG, maybe. Again, depending on the trade, if you can keep one of those guys, that could be your 3. I mean, you could potentially, at least top end talent-wise, be one of the best teams in all of basketball, right? And then from there, you're just kind of piecing out and trying to get as much depth as you can possibly get, on vet minimums and things like that. Or maybe you turn an OG into something. But would a Mitchell Robinson and a Giannis Antetokounmpo, would that make sense? Right? Because Mitchell Robinson isn't a guy that really spreads the floor. We've seen Giannis have success with Brook Lopez, and now you got a Miles Turner, right? Like big men that can spread the floor and stretch out. So maybe you're doing something. Could you do something where maybe you keep Cat and do an OG and a Mikal Bridges, and then now you have Cat and Giannis as your kind of front court, and then Jalen Brunson with a Josh Hart. And then now you're trying to fill in that starting 3 spot plus some bench depth and stuff like that. So, there might be a bit of creativity required in order to get this trade done if you're the Knicks. The other kind of point that is worth briefly mentioning is that there were reports about Giannis's family, basically going back to Greece. So does that, you look at this 2 ways, right? One, how much longer does Giannis actually play? Because at some point, he's probably going to want to be with his family full time. 2, right? Does that open the door for Giannis to not really care where he goes? Right? That's an honest question, right? So if you're a team like the Knicks, you look at it as well, now, because the family's already moved. They're in Greece, and they're probably going to stay in Greece regardless, right? So if you're the team like the Knicks, do you look at it and go that would give Giannis more incentive? You might as well go to the place that you want to go to, right? And that could potentially open the door for the Knicks to go and make a play or make a move to end up landing Giannis. Or same thing with Milwaukee. Milwaukee might look at that as ooh, now, Giannis, we don't have the family element that's no, we love Milwaukee, we want to stay in Milwaukee type thing, where it's no, the family's already gone, it's just Giannis alone. He's going to be in Greece every offseason, so he's just basically going to come to the States, play basketball, and go home. So where does he want to go in the States? And what is his preferred destination? If it's New York, that could be a problem. Right. So, it'll be, like I said, it'll be interesting to see how kind of all this plays out and how this entails. I imagine you're still going to hear reports and news and speculation, and all these things kind of progress into the trade deadline, especially if the Milwaukee Bucks aren't great. And then obviously next offseason, there's going to be a ton of talk about it. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. I pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.